Smoke rose thick from the big black pot and Nora's arms burned from stirring, but she did not stop. Sweat ran down her neck. Her dress stuck to her back. Around her, the kitchen tent buzzed with shouting cooks and clanging pans, all rushing to feed the town before sundown. Then a loud crash came from behind her. A young boy had knocked over a whole basket of eggs and yolks spread across the dirt floor like spilled gold. The head cook, a big woman named Miss Tilda, spun around, her face red with anger. "Who did this?" she screamed. "We have no more eggs. The whole pie plan is ruined." Everyone froze. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nora set down her spoon. Without a word, she walked past the shocked cooks, grabbed an empty bucket, and ran straight out of the tent toward the open field behind the kitchen. "Where is she going?" someone whispered. A few cooks laughed. "Running away from trouble, more like," one said, shaking her head. "That girl thinks she's clever." But Nora was not running away. She dropped to her knees near the wild bushes at the edge of the field, where thin green vines grew low to the ground. Her hands moved fast, pulling small wild berries and tucking them into her apron. She had seen old settlers use these before, sweet enough to replace sugar in a pinch. She ran back inside, breathless, her apron heavy with fruit. "Use this," she said quietly, pouring the berries onto the table. "It will still be sweet, trust me." Miss Tilda stared at her, unsure. The other cooks exchanged doubtful looks. One muttered, "She's just a kitchen girl. What does she know?" But there was no time to argue. Miss Tilda grabbed the berries and got to work. The kitchen went quiet again, waiting to see if the pies would turn out right, or if Nora had just made things much, much worse. The pies came out sweet and golden, and Miss Tilda gave a small nod, like she was surprised but would never say so out loud. Nora went back to her pots and nobody thanked her, but that was nothing new. She wiped her hands and kept working because the wedding was starting soon and there was still so much to carry. By noon, the big tent was full. Yellow flowers hung from every post. Long tables held warm bread, roasted meat, and sweet pies, all made by tired hands. People walked in wearing their best clothes, talking and laughing, filling the air with noise and dust. Then the music began, soft and slow. Miss Arabella came down the aisle in a white dress with lace gloves, her chin held high, her smile wide and proud. The whole crowd turned to look at her, whispering how lucky she was, how fine the match would be. Nora stood near the food table, watching from far away, wiping her hands on her apron. But something was wrong. Caleb stood at the altar and his face was pale, almost gray. His eyes moved fast across the crowd, searching like he was looking for something he could not find. His hands would not stay still. He rubbed them together, then let them drop, then rubbed them again. The priest opened his book. "We are gathered here today," he began. Someone near the front whispered, "Why does the groom look so scared?" Another voice answered low, "Maybe he's just nervous. Happens to every groom." But it did not look like nervous. It looked like fear. Nora felt her own heart start to beat faster, though she did not know why. She told herself, "This is not your business, Nora. Go back to the kitchen." Her feet did not move. The music slowed. Arabella reached the altar and turned to face Caleb, her smile still frozen in place. Caleb did not smile back. The whole tent went still, like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for something no one could yet name. The priest looked down at his book. "Do you, Caleb, take this woman?" "Wait." Caleb's voice cut through the tent like a knife. Loud, clear, final. The music stopped. Every whisper died. Even the wind seemed to hold still, like the whole tent had turned to stone. Arabella's smile froze on her face, half happy, half confused, not sure yet what was happening. Her father shot up from his chair, his face turning red. Caleb stepped back from the altar, one step, then another. He turned away from Arabella and walked, slow at first, then faster, straight through the crowd. People leaned back to let him pass, their mouths open, their eyes wide with shock. "What is he doing?" someone gasped. "Is he sick? Did he faint?" another voice cried. But Caleb was not sick. He walked past shocked faces, past Arabella's family, past tables full of food nobody was eating anymore. He walked straight to the back of the tent, where Nora stood frozen by the food table, flour still on her hands. The whole town turned to stare at her. Someone whispered, "The cook." Caleb stopped in front of Nora. His chest rose and fell fast, like he had been running for miles. "This is the woman I choose," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Not because of her money, she has none. Not because of her family name, she has none of that either. I choose her because every day I have seen her she has been kind, honest, hard-working. My heart will not lie to me, even if the whole town expects something else." Gasps rolled through the crowd like wind through dry grass. Arabella's face changed from shock to fury to deep shame, all in the space of one breath. Her father stood shouting words nobody could understand through his anger. Nora's hands shook, her voice came out small. "Caleb, are you sure? I am only the cook." Caleb took her flour-covered hand in his, gently, like it was something precious. "You were never only anything to me," he said. For one long moment, nobody moved. Then the tent broke into noise like a dam breaking open. Arabella's face crumpled. Tears filled her eyes and she turned and ran, her white dress dragging through the dirt. Her father chased after her, shouting over his shoulder, "This is an insult. You will regret this, Caleb Whitfield. Your family name will be ruined." Old man Whitfield stood frozen near the altar, his mouth open, his face white as paper. His hands trembled at his sides. He looked at his son like he did not know him anymore. Voices rose from every corner of the tent. Some people shouted in anger. A woman cried into her handkerchief. A man near the back muttered, "This town will never be the same after today." But not everyone was angry. An old widow sitting near the back table spoke softly, but her words carried through the noise. "Finally," she said, shaking her head slowly. "Finally, someone in this town chose a good heart over a good name." A few heads turned toward her. Someone nodded, then another. Someone near the food table began to clap, slow and quiet at first. Then another joined. Then another. The clapping grew, spreading through the tent like fire catching dry grass until it filled the whole space. Nora stood there, shaking, tears rolling down her cheeks. But they were not tears of sadness. They were something new, something she had never felt before, the feeling of being truly seen after a whole life of being invisible. Caleb held her hand tight and did not let go, even as whispers still moved through the crowd. "Let them talk," he said quietly. "I know what is true, that is enough for me." In the weeks after, people across the whole territory spoke of that day in Red Hollow, the day a groom turned away from riches and chose a humble cook instead. Some called him foolish, many called him brave. But everyone remembered the lesson that day taught. A kind and steady heart is worth more than gold, more than any family name, more than anything money can buy.